So I'm Katie Salter. I'm a product manager at a company called Salary Finance. I have been there for about a year and a half now, which seems like quite a long time. My job basically is working with all the developers, the development team, so with the QAs as well, and also the business, and making sure that our products actually do what they should do, and making them come to life.
So what's a typical day for you? So you say product manager, so explain to, I guess, everyone what a typical day looks like for you.
It's a funny one. It's very much a startup, so there is no typical day, which is kind of why it's great. So I guess there's a few things I'm involved with. I have a lot of meetings with the more sort of senior management team, with their head of product, to work out what products we should be doing, what we should be building next, what new features we should do. Go into sort of roadmap sessions. This might not be a typical day, but every so often we have roadmap sessions to say, this is what we're thinking of the development team sort of building for the next 3-month period at a high level. So some of those might be entirely new products. Some of them might be, we've got all these like tech debt issues that we need to sort of spend some time on, and some of them might be like, oh cool, we need to add these really cool new features. My job is basically, once we've come up with that, some of them will be my responsibility. So it will be working with all the members of the team, so the ops team to figure out how it needs to work, or the legal team to figure out if we need regulations, or if we, if there's any sort of compliance issues that we might encounter with it, with data and all that kind of thing. Every day I'm speaking to the developers, speaking to the QAs, ensuring that they know what they need to do, writing out those requirements for them to then take away and work out how they're going to build it. It's
really good to hear a different perspective, because today we've heard from the technical perspective.
Yeah.
It's really good to hear, I guess, from someone further down the line, or maybe I don't know how to say it, maybe the less technical person.
Yeah.
You're still pretty technical because you did the Wagon, but we'll come back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to hear. It's good to hear the different view on the tech space, because we're all in tech. So I probably shouldn't have said non-tech then, because we are all in tech, but it's just a different view on solving the problem.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny because actually day to day I spend a lot of my time with the developers, and I end up having all these conversations with the developers, but I guess I'm just not the one coding it at the end of the day. But
both are needed.
Exactly.
You couldn't have one without the other.
Exactly.
So how did you get to where you are now? So if you go right back, what was your background? Then you went to the Wagon.
So I guess if I go really far back, for me, I've always been someone who, like, the school subjects I was good at were the maths and sciences. I kind of, at school, didn't really know what I wanted to do, went into engineering, and so did an engineering degree at university. Then loved it, loved all the problem solving aspect, but went and did some like civil engineering work experience, and they're building these giant buildings, and all projects take sort of years, a really, really long time to actually come to light. So I then ended up going into a strategy consulting company. So I went totally away from anything science-based or technical, but kept the problem-solving side of things. And that was very much a role where you go into businesses and try and help them with problems they're having. In a way, quite similar skills to what I'm doing now, but not tech-related at all. And I was there for about 4.5 years, which was probably about 2.5 years too long, to be honest. It was one of those things that I worked out quite early on. It wasn't something I wanted to be in long term. I had no idea what I did want to do. And it was comfortable, and I got on very well with all the people and sort of vaguely enjoyed what I was doing, but I didn't really have much. It was very much one of those places where you're just looking at what the next sort of goal is. I'd applied to a number of jobs but didn't know what I wanted to do, and eventually I just decided, nah, this is ridiculous. I can't keep doing this. I know I don't want to do it, so I just quit. Which I think was a surprise to quite a lot of people, but I just reached the stage that I don't know what it is, and I don't have time while I'm here. It's a very high pressure job. I don't have time while I'm here to figure out what it is I do want to do. So I left that. That was probably November a few years ago. And I then had up until Christmas. So I said, I'll give myself until Christmas to try and figure out what type of thing I want to be doing. And in that time, I decided something I'd always wanted to do was learn to code. I think my background was sort of suited for it. Like, mathematical and sort of scientific and logical is like everything you need to be able to code. And so I thought, well, it annoyed me I couldn't do it, I think was the thing, and my little brother could do it, and that annoyed me even more. I started teaching myself. Anyway, Christmas then came, and I went to one of the Wagon demo days to see what it was all about, and was speaking to people about, well, maybe I'll do a course. wow, development is my thing, I want to be a developer. It might be that I come out of it saying, well, I understand tech so much more, that's the sort of angle I want to go. And to be honest, I didn't really think much about what it would tell me. I just thought, how bad can it be? Like, you're not going to get a negative outcome from it. So
it's win-win situation.
Exactly, and I think there was a small part of me that was also like, and it was a really great intro during the Wagon into that area, like learning how products work, how development works. It was like always this black box to me. I understood why a business would want to do something, and then you had the outcome, and everything else was just this sort of box where someone sat at a computer and did it, which sounds silly now, but it was just this sort of mystery to me.
But to the majority of people, that's probably, I think, what it is. So it's great that you kind of, pull back the curtains and kind of
exactly. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think some people say that with the way that the Wagon course is set up, with the first few weeks you sort of learn a lot of the back end and then you learn the front end. And lots of people say, oh, it's really hard at the beginning. I loved that. I was like, what's it called? The product manager at Oculus. Like It was insane. I don't know how we found the link to him, but anyway, so he came in and I was the person who had to do the interviewing of him. And he was incredible, and you just sort of, so I'm like, I want your job.
But it's great that you can see that.
Yeah, it was really cool. He'd come from a development background. He'd been a developer for years, and then he'd gone into this, and I was just thinking, do I have to do development for like 5-10 years before I go into this role, or can I just get there? Like, do you need all of that background, or is just a 9-week understanding enough? And anyway, I ended up, it was quite a struggle, but I ended up managing to get sort of straight into the product role, which was incredible. I've kind of rambled for a really long time.
No, but that's really good, and it's great for people who are watching to understand that when people talk about tech, when I talk about tech, it's not just about the coding. There are so many other jobs, like you mentioned, tester or QA, business analyst, documenter, product manager, scrum master. There's so many other roles, and they're all required. The hackathons that I have won are where we've had a mix of people in our team because people have been focusing on their area. If you have a team of 4 coders, then you're less likely to win because technically you might achieve more. But when you come to demo it, the judges aren't looking at the detailed technical implementation, and usually none of you have thought about actually how to present it or how to wrap it as a product and explain it and demo it. So that's just in the hackathon. So imagine in the real world is even more important, more impactful.
I think I just didn't even realize the other jobs existed. Like, you think of a tech company, I sort of thought of the sales team and then the developers. I just didn't realize all of those other roles. Actually, I never even considered that there might be like testers or QAs. Its job it was to test something.
Like, what challenges?
So I guess the 2 biggest challenges I had were, firstly, which I've kind of spoken about, but leaving my job and saying to all the people I worked with, I'm going to do a coding course. I'm going to start totally again, trying to explain to my parents that, I'd been in a career for like nearly 5 years, and there's lots of things you could do from that. And I was sort of restarting and saying, cool, I'm going to go and do a course with, like, one of the guys on my team was straight out of school. He decided to go do the course rather than going to university.
But your experience adds so much value to what you were doing in the coding
100%.
space. So
I couldn't have got the job I've got now without the experience I had behind me. A lot of I think with product management in particular, a lot of the background skills you need to do it, and a lot of the soft skills you pick up from pretty much all other jobs. Like the ability to communicate with people and work with people who, different types of people. They might be quite difficult, they might be, you need to get everyone on side. I didn't quite realize how many of the skills I had were transferable to this industry. I sort of worried that I was going to be going in late 20s as like junior product manager at the same role that someone who had was 20 could go into, and I'm going to have to work my way up another ladder, as it were, more prepared for your job than someone who is straight out of university or whatever they might be, because you've got that experience. Yeah,
that experience, you're more well-rounded, and it's not just about that specific skill.
I don't know if I was lucky or if I just tried so many places. The company I'm at, the person hiring was the COO, because it was quite a small company when I joined, and he was very much of the mindset of, if they've got the right attitude and the right sort of skill set. I don't care if they've done it before. That's enough, which is brilliant. A lot of people either sort of fell into it, they were in an operational role and sort of moved across, or they just happened to be in the right place at the right time originally. And now people are saying, well, actually, we don't need to just hire someone who's got loads of product experience to do this job. This person might just be.
We spoke about challenges. I was going to say, what advice would you give to your younger self? You maybe touched on that, but maybe if we can go over that again.
What advice would I give to my younger self? I think one piece of advice I'd give myself is look around a bit more, as in look at what's out there. I think it's easy sometimes when you're at university and or even at school, when you're looking at what you can do, no one talks about these jobs. No one knows they exist. And you can, so you're like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And people sort of say, a doctor, a lawyer, a banker, maybe you want to go, you see all the jobs that you interact with each day, and then you see the ones that your parents do. And I think developer's one that people probably know about but don't really know what it means. And then all the surrounding tech jobs, I just don't think people even know exist. I mean, especially because since I've become a product manager and people have said, what do you do? Pretty much every time I say I'm a product manager, I have to explain to people what that is. So I'd say a bit of advice to myself would be just look, don't get stuck in the grind of this is what everyone else is doing. And don't be afraid to just leave and look around. But
you did it, that's the most important.
I did.
Do it. Think about the people who haven't done it yet. So
yeah, exactly.
There's a shout out to all of them to say, if you're not happy, look around, see what else there is and see what you're interested in.
Exactly. And the other piece of advice that someone gave me, which I thought was brilliant, was this is really for people who don't know what they want to do, or anyone who doesn't know what they want to do. They said to me, everyone sort of our age has huge networks these days. The job I've got now was through a guy that actually used to work at the company I worked at, and I saw that he was a product manager, I think through LinkedIn, and basically messaged him and said, I see that you're a product manager, you have the same background as me, I'd love to speak to you about what you're doing, how you found the move, everything about it. I wasn't angling after a job at all, I just wanted his view on how he'd got there and how he found it, and if it was what he wanted it to be, etc. Yeah, through that, I had a number of conversations with him where he gave me quite a lot of advice, linked me up with other people that he knew who were in the product space, and then actually about 3 months later messaged me and said, hey, are you still looking for a job in product? Because we're actually now hiring.
Really interesting.
So that's how actually I ended up with the interview that I had, because it was purely through the fact I'd reached out to this guy.
But I think that's really good advice to tell people to reach out, but you might not necessarily get, the job or what you want immediately. But you never know 3 months later, a year later, how the moons align and how it all works out.
I think using your network effectively and using your friends' networks, and a number of people in the Wagon contact me every so often and say, hey, I hear you're in product. It would be great to chat. And I love that. I'm happy to chat to people because I did exactly the same thing when I left. Okay.
Where do you see yourself in 3 years?
It's a really tough question to answer because 3 years ago I would never have seen myself here. 3 years ago I was in my old job and hadn't even decided to leave. I love doing what I'm doing at the moment. I'm absolutely loving being in product. I'm quite lucky our company's grown. I joined when there were 20 people, and just due to the nature of tech businesses, it's just gone like this, and it's now 110 people, which is mental, after about a year and a half of me being there. So it's like the whole company has experienced huge growth, which is brilliant for me because actually I joined in a role that I might have got it, but like the role I got when I got it has turned into something so much bigger than I ever thought it would, because the company kind of has grown around me. I guess I'd still like to be learning loads in the next 3 years, but I'd like to be significantly better at what I'm doing than I am now.
The tech one you're at, what tech do you use? So at the moment, being product, you're not coding day to day. Are you coding on the side? Any side projects?
When I left the Wagon, I had these huge plans to continue coding, and I always wanted to be doing it on the side. Honestly, I'm not doing a huge amount. I still understand it, I'm still involved in it, I still see code every day, I'm just not coding it. So the fact that I can code means that I can work properly with the with the developers in the teams to actually, I was going to say talk their language, which sounds awful. I understand what they need to do. If I say, this is the, if the answer is this is the new feature that we need, or this is the change that we need.
So that's really good. So I guess to other people watching, if they're not necessarily interested in the longer term coding day in, day out, then you should advise them to go on a boot camp
100%.
like the Wagon, because it will open their eyes and open some doors and all the rest.
100%.
Okay.
I think the guy that I said ended up basically introducing me to the company. He had the same background as me, went from a roundabout route, ended up in product. He is now one of our senior product managers and is currently teaching himself to code because he is annoyed with himself for not understanding enough, and he understands all the key lingo, and he couldn't have got to where he's got to without understanding some of it, but he doesn't feel he understands enough, and he wants to understand more. And I think getting that from the beginning has been like invaluable for me. And I think in terms of the different boot camps, I looked at lots of different ones. The Wagon is one where at the end you actually build a product, so you can see it from lots of different angles. It's not just focused on, obviously one of the aims is to get people into coding and getting people into development jobs, but there are also, it is also a good route to learn things and then learn the product side and sort of go that way.
So do you go to, so being in the tech space, do you go to any tech events, hackathons?
I haven't been to any hackathons.
Yet?
No, I haven't been to any hackathons yet. I've been to quite a lot of different tech meetups or talks. Our company's backed by a bigger sort of VC company, so they every so often put things on and bring people in, so I quite often go to those. A lot of people on my team go to Product Tank meetups, which I have annoyingly managed to miss every single one of. They're so oversubscribed. So you have to like get on it as the tickets come out to try and book a spot. But I'm going to try and go to some of those because apparently those are brilliant.
So what would you recommend to someone who wants to get into tech?
I would probably just say don't be scared of it. Especially as a girl, it can be quite off-putting. You see these things and it's historically quite a male-dominated industry, and you sort of think, oh, am I technical enough? Is it a world I want to be in? It's such an exciting place, and I think yes, like people shouldn't be scared of it. Shouldn't be put off by horror stories they see or whatever it might be. Like there's always a route in, and I think it's an incredible place to be. It's such a fast-moving industry that it's brilliant. People should go for it.
I think that's great to hear. I think that's great advice. Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.